I can say that word all fucking night. I like to say fuck. My favorite word is fuck. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck your shit too. Fuck.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bob.
And Jenna.
And we're back yet again for, well, actually, it's been a long time since we've done a subscriber show.
It has, we're sorry.
We suck. But we've been really busy. We've been doing a lot of different things. That was a song that we heard on the KEXP Music That Matters podcast. I don't remember who it's by. Some punk band from the Northwest.
No, I don't remember either.
Well, it doesn't matter. But anyway,
Yeah.
It's a good song about, well, our favorite word. This one. It's good stuff. So yeah, anyway, it's been a long time since we've done a little subscriber show. I thought we would get on and do a subscriber show this week instead of a regular show because we're running. We just, by the time we want to do a subscriber show, we're like out of energy, out of juice. And here we are, and I think we've got some energy and some things we want to talk about that I don't really want to talk about to thousands of people, and instead want to talk to with you, our subscribers. So I don't know. I thought we'd talk about a couple things on the show today. One thing I want to talk about concerns the situation that I had at work that I would not want to talk about on the main show, but that I think I could talk about here. Mm-hmm. I also want to read you an excerpt of Peter Singer and what he says about babies. And I'm sure that makes some of you angry, but bear with me. What else? Oh, yeah, there's this book called The Lifelong Activist, How to Change the World Without Losing Your Way. And originally I thought I would do a review of this on the show, and I wrote to the author to get her on the show, and she never wrote me back. I got the diss. I got the hardcore diss from this author.
Appropriate moment for have all the
Yeah, well,
the
anyway,
fucks in the
I was
background,
waiting
yeah.
for you to say something. But
No, I'm listening to the music.
all right, well, we're going to turn the music off so you pay attention. Okay, so anyway, because you look like you're spacing out on me.
I'm a little spacey this afternoon. It's Sunday, so I'm like, it's the weekend. My brain sort of goes into shutdown mode a little bit.
Sunday! Sorry, couldn't help it. If those of you who aren't from the U.S., that's usually what there's a commercial on sometimes. Like if there's going to be a drag race or a truck and tractor pull, usually Sunday at the Watertown Arena. Usually it's just like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this book, and I couldn't get the woman on the show, but I would like to talk to you about the book, and I was going to ask her about some of these issues that I have with the book, but she dissed us. So I'll just talk about the issues I have with the book right on the show. And is there anything else?
Nah, that's about it.
All right, you got to wake up if we're going to have anything that's worth listening to.
Fine, I'm awake.
I'm trying to be animated here, and it's like, you're like a corpse over there. Come on.
What? Well, you're talking, so...
Well, I look over to you to talk, and it's like, man, I look over, and you're like... You're going to punch me, aren't you?
I'm just going to give you the death stare.
Okay, anyway. So I guess I think I'll start out with, since Jen is kind of sleepy or whatever, I don't know.
Hey, this is all your shit, so go ahead, talk.
Well, don't you have any shit?
No, I have no shit.
You have nothing to bring.
I don't know.
All
Not
right.
a whole lot, but go ahead.
Well, welcome to Bob Radio. A student of mine, I taught a class every spring usually, except for this one coming up because I have a sabbatical. Every spring I teach a class on veganism and animal rights. And last spring I taught a class, and one of the students in the class had been a vegan, I think for a number of years before she's in the class. So, which is pretty rare where we are. It's actually rare to find vegans at all. But she had been a vegan for years before she had come into the class. And it was cool to have another vegan in class, But that class was actually pretty decent because they were really attentive and ready to talk about these things. But that was last year. I got an email from her, and she said, "Hey, Bob, I need some help, some advice. I'm going to London next semester, and the program director told me they cannot get a homestay family which will accommodate veganism. We have to eat 2 meals a week with our homestay family. So I wrote him back telling him that it's not a big deal, and I can just avoid things that aren't vegan and grab a snack later if need be. Then I just got an email back from him, which basically says that I need to either not go to London or give up my veganism. I attached the email for you, but I am so disgusted. This is ridiculous that they think I'm going to give up my moral beliefs because the family I'm with eats meat. I'm so angry right now. I want to go shout at this man and ask him whether he would kill a man just because he was visiting a culture that believed in human sacrifice. That is not even to say that people from the UK aren't vegans. There are loads of British vegans, which of course we know. So yeah, sorry about that rant. I'm just really frustrated and wondering if you could offer any advice about what to do or say without getting kicked out of the program or without having to eat meat or dairy. So I did write to her what I first did was when I got that email, I was like completely vibrating angry. Like I could not believe. You'll hear why in a second, why I was so angry. I was really angry, but the first thing I did was I wrote to Gary Francione and said, Gary, listen, I need some details on how to best argue this case for this student, because I wrote her back and said, look, I'd like to step in and make the case for you. I think they're going to listen to a faculty member more than listen to a student, and I would like to be able to make that case. And she said, yeah, go ahead. So I did. I should print out the email for how I responded. Mm-hmm. You maybe should read the email from the director. So this is the director of the program while I print this other email out.
Okay. Well, this is one of several emails. I think he said something nasty in another one, too.
That's the rudest, though.
Okay. He says, I don't think you really understand the homestay situation here in London. We expect our students to sit and break bread with their families twice a week. While the occasional vegetarian student will avoid eating meat, it is nevertheless the case that, yes, families will indeed tend to be put off by a student who chooses not to eat what she has been served and then runs off to have a meal on her own. To be frank, they will be bewildered and may experience it as somewhat disrespectful. Part of the experience of being within the context of another culture is learning to alter one's behaviors and habits so as to accommodate the people whose culture one is entering, not the other way around. Students need to be able to modify certain of their personal choices when they seek to go on an abroad program. If you don't feel able to do that, you might want to rethink some of your expectations of the abroad program here and your reasons for wanting to come to London. Since you are meeting with this other guy tomorrow, you will need to work through these issues with him. That's just crazy. But there was another email. There was another part of the email where he basically said, "Well, we can accommodate vegetarians, but you're just asking too much."
Oh, really? Wait, that's not in here. Oh, yeah. While the occasional vegetarian will soon avoid eating meat.
No, it was one of the part of the emails that he sent was even nastier, I think.
Oh, I should find that too. All right, hang on.
Okay. So yeah, but he was basically like saying that, oh, well, we can accommodate people who don't want to eat meat, but, we just can't accommodate you. You're being too extreme, and it's just too ridiculous. And he made it sound like there's no one else in the world that would possibly ask for this, and that no one in Britain has ever heard of a vegan, so they wouldn't have any idea what to cook. And the student basically responded and said, look, I'll sit there and have a meal with them. I'll eat, the one thing on the plate that might be vegan, but, I just won't eat meat and whatever else, any dairy, eggs, etc. And she's not going to give up her principles just to make some family happy.
And she shouldn't have to.
No.
I mean, like being vegan in London, it's a better understood choice there than it is here.
It is. And it's just so absurd that someone would even say that. It's like, fine, if you don't want to have to deal with vegans, this is the director, doesn't want to have to deal with vegans, he doesn't. But she was perfectly willing to be accommodating student, and fine, I'll feed myself. The typical tactic that we always tell vegans is figure out a way to feed yourself, and she was going to do that. She would have sit there and had a nice conversation with her host family.
She was going to compromise in that situation. So let's see, what do we do here? Oh, okay. So let me introduce myself. I'm the current director of the London program, working closely with our assistant director and housing coordinator in setting up the homestays for next semester. As and I were going through the housing forms, we noticed that you wrote the following in the description of your eating preferences: vegan diet, no meat, fish, dairy, eggs, or any animal products at all. Please recognize that while we try to be aware of our students' eating preferences, there is no way our families can be expected to meet the requirements of so restricted and specialized a diet. The homestay parents shop for and prepare the students' meals as part of their family's everyday routine and work within the limits of what is available in the grocery store and the cooking they do ordinarily. While on occasion there are vegetarian students who avoid eating meat, you have listed too many limitations for our parents to accommodate. At the same time, you will be expected, as all our students, to eat with your homestay family twice a week. That is one of the ways we have of bringing our students within the fold of everyday British life. We certainly hope you understand our inability to accommodate you on this matter. Now, what the fuck? So yeah. Anyway, I forwarded all this stuff to.
Yeah. He basically made it sound like there's possibly nothing in the grocery store that they could possibly find that would be vegan.
Oh God, no!
God no! Hello, produce. It's like, what the fuck? Do you only eat meat and nothing else? It's like, do you never eat a fucking vegetable?
Actually, if you know this guy, yes.
Yes, probably.
Which I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I forwarded all this stuff to Gary Francione because I thought he's had experience doing these cases before, and I've had a kind of a correspondence with him over the last couple weeks, so it wasn't like out of the blue, just me sending it to him. And we talked on the phone, and he just was like, I can't believe this. He gave me a lot of advice about how to approach it, and it was good stuff. So I used the advice that he gave me to craft this letter. These are really things that are coming from Francione and not from me in any way, but I kind of put everything we talked about on the phone together into a letter that I sent to the director of the program and all the different deans and all this other stuff. I hope this isn't boring people, but I found this like incredibly insane personally. And I can't imagine another vegan wouldn't, because to have someone so misunderstand what it means to be a vegan is really monumental to me. It's like, oh, it's just your little lifestyle. It's your little habit. You know, like you can give it up. No, it's a personally defining characteristic that is every much a part of a vegan as is anything a part of anyone. I don't know. Let me read this email I wrote to them. A former student of mine approached me today with some concerns that she has over her veganism being accommodated during her time abroad in London. As a vegan myself, I was concerned about the response to her so far, particularly from somebody, because it fails to recognize the ways in which her veganism and the veganism of many other vegans stems from deeply held religious or spiritual beliefs. Now, this might strike you as funny to hear me arguing for religion, but anyway, deeply held religious spiritual beliefs and functions like a worldview. To marginalize veganism as a mere personal choice misses these vital aspects. In a similar sense, this is no different than if an observant Jewish student were told to eat pork or shellfish as part of, quote, learning to alter one's behavior and habits so as to accommodate the people whose culture one is entering. I also wonder what interest the institution has in promoting the idea of non-accommodation for vegans. Certainly no legitimate academic interest is being protected by suggesting that the student has to abrogate her deeply held spiritual beliefs, which constitute personal and self-defining characteristics about the status and sanctity of animal life, to participate in study abroad programs. In addition, a requirement that a student give up her deeply held spiritual beliefs may be in violation of New York state law. The notion that one must sacrifice one's veganism to quote-unquote break bread with a family is akin to saying that one must eat everything on her plate, and certainly we don't have this rule for others to participate in study abroad programs. The student has been extremely reasonable and willing to compromise by only eating vegan foods offered her by her family. She has not demanded an entirely vegan household. Finally, the notion that veganism is quote-unquote foreign in the UK is at best an absurdity. The UK has at least double the number of vegans per thousand than the US and has a vibrant vegan movement. I know because I write and talk on these topics and know a great number of vegans in London and other parts of the UK. If anything else, Joe's veganism will be better understood in London than in Canton or even most major US cities. I write in the interest of protecting the beliefs of a fellow vegan who I know has been vegan for a number of years and for whom these beliefs are deeply held spiritual views that are personally defining. My hope is that her generous compromises can be accommodated by the program and respected by its directors without her being told that she should reconsider her reasons for wanting to study abroad. So that's what I wrote back there. And I didn't hear anything back, of course. But the student has since met with people, and she told me they've been more than accommodating.
Nice.
Since then. That there have been no problems at all since I wrote that email.
Nice.
So that's exactly the way Gary Francione told me to play it. He said, just try to make it like a religious and spiritual view in every possible way you can, and to argue it from that angle. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you're not a religious person, to me, it is a belief that I hold deeply. It is who I am. It's
as defining for me as I imagine a religious view is for someone who is religious.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm not going to say, oh, well, just because it makes you uncomfortable, then I'll eat the dead thing on my plate. No. It doesn't work like that.
Well, it's like, and in the original email to me, this student raised this point, like, if I had to go to a culture where they killed human beings, would that be okay for me to go kill human beings? No. She shouldn't have to give up her ethics to enter another culture.
And we're talking London here.
I know.
London. Well, it's like the home of it's where, England is where veganism was born, really.
Yeah, that's
where
true.
the term vegan came from. Hello.
And, look, it's not like it's hard to find vegan food in London.
No.
She's being very compromising. She said she would eat with them.
Yeah.
And, there's going to be bread. She can eat bread. There's going to be something there. And, these families, having been in these homestay situations before, more often than not, they are willing to bend over backwards to accommodate people because they make money at it. So it's like, okay, if it means I have to cook for you some stupid-ass lentil dish, fine, I'll cook it. But it's a way of them showing that they can be accommodating in a lot of these situations. So I just feel like, if she were in the middle of the bush somewhere in Africa, maybe that would change things. Maybe.
Yeah, but only maybe.
But only maybe, and I don't even think then. Well, it's complicated in that situation, but... this is one thing, I was just really, was just really annoyed by it because it just is such a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be a vegan.
Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous.
I think.
So, yes, infuriating.
It's absolutely infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. So I wanted to share that with you all. I wouldn't read that on the regular show because it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, you never know who's listening to the regular show. I have a little more control over the subscribers, and
Yeah.
it's more of a personal.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about work too much on.
No, I don't like to because it's sketchy.
Yeah.
And I just don't like to.
Mm-mm.
Once I have tenure, I might more.
So now what?
I don't know. I guess one thing we could say is that, speaking of Francione, he just recently relaunched his site with new layout and design and new content, and also started a blog.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote on his first blog entry his first blog entry deals with this whole problem of Peter Singer coming out to support animal rights issues, animal testing issues. Whoa, strange slip.
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't hear, he is basically backing one of these researchers at Oxford who does Parkinson's testing on apes.
Yeah.
He induces Parkinson's.
Is it apes?
Yeah, and chimpanzees.
Apes and chimpanzees?
Oh, chimpanzees.
Okay. Chimpanzees aren't apes, are they?
I don't know.
I don't really know either. It doesn't really matter. He in any case had backed the whole issue of testing, and a lot of people found that really problematic. And I saw an editorial that Peter Singer had written to the newspaper where this was run, saying that, he doesn't want to be painted as someone that really promotes animal testing because he's opposed to it institutionally. So, I mean, to me, that is like the most Janus face thing to possibly say, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't support it. I don't support institutionally, but I can see how one could do it. You know what I mean? It's just, it seems to me like an out. So I know I'm really offending some people in the audience. I know Peter Singer's a touchy subject, but I think, here's what I think about Peter Singer. Let me say, Peter Singer was, for me, I read Animal Liberation. It was, for me, a book that was very powerful. It changed the way I thought about things in a lot of ways. But that does not mean that forever I must pledge my undying allegiance to this man or to his philosophy. I mean, I read it, and then, I started to think about it. I read more stuff, and then that stuff is in dialogue and in challenge with Singer. And that does not mean, because he moved me into veganism in some ways, that I have to forever respect the man for that reason, right? Mm-hmm. It means that one should always be intelligent, and one should always approach these things not as a matter of personal. I think people hold him up as some kind of personal god or some kind of personal hero, and I don't fucking care about that stuff. I mean, if what he says is deeply offensive on reflection and deeply problematic, we should not love the man just because he is some hero of the movement.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know some of you out there are bothered by that, because a few of you have written to me to say, well, Peter Singer doesn't promote conscientious omnivorism, which is just not true if you read The Way We Eat, because he does.
He does.
How is what Peter Singer does when he goes in and does this shit to turkeys any different than the covert operations? Well, I don't know that it is all that different, but I'll talk about covert operations another time, and I'm sure I'll make a whole different segment of the audience angry at me for that. But anyway, I was reading up on Peter Singer recently, and I came across this page, this part of, actually I have this book of his called Writings on Ethical Life, and it's got this really dumb picture of Peter Singer on it. It looks so fucking stupid. Anyway, I have this thing on here, and there was a section, it's from Practical Ethics, called Justifying Infanticide. And I read this today, and I just had to get up and walk over to Jenna and say, you need to read this. This is, am I alone in finding this really problematic? And Jenna came back and this blank look on her face.
Like, what? He actually put this in writing?
So what he ends up arguing is that essentially that, let's see, that it's okay to kill infants, but it's only okay to kill certain infants, right? Mm-hmm. That, well, I think we should just read it. What do you think?
Sure.
No infant, disabled or not, has a strong claim to life as beings capable of seeing themselves as distinct entities existing over time. So basically saying that as an infant, right, someone doesn't have the same ability, an infant doesn't have the same ability to recognize itself as a human being as a full-grown human does.
Right.
Okay. The difference between killing disabled and normal infants lies not in any supposed right to life that the latter has and the former lacks, but in other considerations about killing. Most obviously, there is the difference that often exists in the attitudes of the parents. The birth of a child is usually a happy event for the parents. they have nowadays often planned for the child. The mother has carried it for 9 months. From birth, a natural affection begins to bind the parents to it, so one important reason why it is normally a terrible thing to kill an infant is the effect the killing will have on its parents. It is different when the infant is born with a serious disability. Birth abnormalities vary, of course. Some are trivial and have little effect on the child or its parents, but others turn the normally joyful event of birth into a threat to the happiness of the parents and any other children they may have. Parents may, with good reason, regret that a disabled child was ever born. In that event, the effect that the death of the child will have on its parents can be a reason for, rather than against, killing it. Some parents want even the most gravely disabled infant to live as long as possible, and this desire would then be a reason against killing the infant. But what if this is not the case? In the discussion that follows, I shall assume that the parents do not want the disabled child to live. I shall also assume that the disability is so serious that, again, in contrast to the situation of an unwanted but normal child today, there are no other couples eager to adopt the infant. This is a realistic assumption even in a society in which there is a long waiting list of couples wishing to adopt normal babies. So, I mean, he kind of goes on to talk about this, but it is a kind of fucked up conclusion he comes to, which basically justifies killing off disabled children.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. And the thing I find interesting about this is I had an argument with a student the other day, and he basically came up with this exact same justification, which is really odd to me.
But he was trying to argue against veganism.
He was trying to argue against veganism.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about animal testing, and I said to him, look, would it be okay for me? I mean, because we got down to the whole thing like, why is it okay to test on animals? Because they don't have rationality. So I said, would it be okay to test on irrational or non-rational humans? And he thought about it and said, yeah, why not? And he was joking. He started to laugh because he thought, he was fucking cornered, and he got that look on his face like, oh, man. But he said, yeah, okay, fine. I'm going to play. He said, I'm just going to play along and say, let's abort deformed children. And if they're born, let's experiment on them. And if anyone becomes a drag on society, we should experiment on them too. The elderly, anybody who is irrational, anyone who is clinically, gone in the brain, right? Mm-hmm. We should experiment on them. And I said to him, what's really funny about what you're arguing as a first-year student? He's like, what? I'm like, there is a famous philosopher who argues almost, not exactly, he argues almost the same thing. So, no, I mean, disability advocates rightly have a lot of problems with what he has argued here.
Yeah.
Because I think that, here are the things, right? He's talking in this article about justifying infanticide for the kind of problems that would not result in an adoptable child. But I think that those kinds of justifications are problematic at a number of levels because they fail to recognize how we define and understand disability, and also how we understand what it means to be disabled, right? Mm-hmm. To us, a disability looks like a horrible thing for a lot of us, right? Mm-hmm. But that is to say nothing of the lives of people that are disabled and don't see their disability as, in fact, a horrible curse on them. Right.
That's all they know. So they, I think, would be very happy to be alive.
Exactly.
Don't know. And it's to say, it's like, he's making it sound like people with disabilities have no value at all.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
And I think that's so problematic at so many levels that to justify killing infants. Now, do I believe that abortion should be legal? Absolutely, because I think there is a compelling argument with abortion to argue that the life of a baby, I think up until probably the third trimester, is not really one that can meaningfully have any it can't really meaningfully be separated from the life of the mother. So I think in the first 2 trimesters, abortion is perfectly justifiable ethically. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a problem with being able to justify infanticide.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing to me that someone who's concerned about equality should be arguing for.
Not at all.
And the way I see it, the way I see the argument for animal liberation is that it's an argument about equality. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah. And in fact, it seems to me that it'd be a lot easier to use that argument for killing animals than against killing animals. So if you can kill off disabled babies, then you can kill off animals too, because they have this, apparently have similar characteristics.
He has no problem with killing animals in certain situations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. His philosophical framework does not prevent someone from killing an animal for certain reasons that would benefit certain people.
Right. That's why utilitarianism seems really fucked up to me. Mm-hmm. It's the greatest good for the greatest number, right?
Yeah, simplistically.
So it's, but
well,
the end does not always justify the means.
Well, that's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think in some ways, I think he gets a bad rap from people misreading some of the things he says, but I also think that he makes plenty of arguments on his own that are problematic. You know? And I personally find some of what he has to say very, very troubling in that way. And so if you look at his philosophical framework, right, he can justify killing an infant because of the cost that it has on the lives of the parents. He can justify testing on monkeys because of the potential benefits it has to people, and because, as he said in this interview, there's no other way. If there were no other way to do it, that's fine. So he can justify that through these frameworks that he establishes. Why people see this man as a shining light of veganism, I have no idea. I think he's a problematic figure. I think he needs to be disowned by the movement, and I think we need to step away from him because we have someone who is considered the father of the vegan movement out there always talking about how it's okay on occasion to eat eggs and cheese. Now that's fucked up to me. And I apologize if you like Peter Singer. If you do, call in with a voicemail for the next subscriber cast and we'll play it, I think. But I just don't understand how anyone could back this man any longer. I think the only place that it makes sense to be within the whole entire framework of examining animal oppression is within the abolitionist framework. I mean, it basically argues that the use is wrong, period.
Yep.
And I think that's the same framework we would use to argue against sexism, against racism, against homophobia, that all of it is wrong, not some of it is okay. It's all wrong from the roots up.
I agree.
I'm done with that.
Okay. What else did you want to talk about?
I want to talk about this other book, and then we'll call it to a close.
Okay.
So there's this book. When Lantern sent me the copy of Dr. Greger's book, Bird Flu, they also enclosed this book, The Lifelong Activist, How to Change the World Without Losing Your Way. And it's by a woman named Hillary Reddig. Now, this book is firmly in the self-help camp. I mean, let's be realistic here, right? This is smack dab in the middle of self-help America, okay? The only thing is that it's self-help aimed at activists. So, and I think, we need it. Activists are some of the most fucked up people I know are activists. So we do need some self-help. And actually, I think parts of the book are quite good because they talk about kind of, well, let me begin by saying what I think the problem with the book is. And then I'll talk about what I like. I think the problem with the book is that it takes this framework of business and morphs it onto activism and onto your life. So it makes this assumption that, in fact, the capitalist work of the everyday business is, in fact, something that can be meaningfully morphed onto the usually non-capitalist work of an activist. And that is, I think, one of the biggest tensions throughout the book is that it tries to cram all this activism into what is essentially a business box, right? That's one of the big troubles I think that the book has is in fitting these things together. And I think that's where I found a lot of the friction that I came across when I read the book. It does have some useful things in it, though, and some really good pointers in the beginning of the book about how it's important for you to, not let yourself get in too deep in certain things, and how it's important for you to look out for yourself. And I actually think that is one thing that activists don't hear enough, is that, we have this notion that to be an activist, one must give up all these earthly possessions, live in poverty, and basically become an activist monk, right? This book reminds you that, in fact, you need to watch out for yourself, and that if you watch out for yourself and take care of yourself as a person, and you watch out for the things that you need, you pay attention to what your body's telling you, pay attention to what you need in terms of enjoyment and in terms of your life, that ultimately be a more effective activist than just giving everything up and jumping in wholeheartedly. What do you think, Jenna?
Yeah, sure. I haven't read the book, so.
Well, you can reflect upon some of what I'm saying so that I don't have to ramble on the whole show.
Well, I only read like 10 pages of the book, but it makes sense to me because you're right. I mean, activists don't often burn out too soon. And I think that's what she's trying to avoid, is that so you can still do meaningful activism, but don't let it kill you, Yeah.
And so she has advice for that and how to manage your time.
Yes, which is extremely important.
Some of it is good, but she presents these really complex ways of managing your time, like tracking everything you do and using that to kind of establish a schedule and see where your time's going. And that for a couple of weeks, you're supposed to track everything down to like 15-minute increments.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't have the fucking time for this.
Yeah, really? Who has the time to keep track of their time?
Right. I mean, actually, to tell you all the truth, there's this book, Getting Things Done by David Allen. Okay. It's capitalist, fucking horrible book, but it's good. I read it, and everything he says, not everything, but a lot of things he says in the book are really good for establishing a framework for getting shit done in your life, right? So I've been using that actually, and I find that really one of the most powerful things I've read in terms of getting crap done. Because I resisted reading a book like that for a very long time because I thought like, oh, it's all capitalist and oriented these business shitheads and all this other stuff. But then I realized like, whether I like it or not, I'm living in this capitalist world. In order for me to be effective in this capitalist world, the demands upon me are capitalist. So I have to meet those demands in the same way a capitalist would if I'm going to be successful. And if I'm going to create enough time for Vegan Freak Radio and printing T-shirts and publishing books and everything that I enjoy doing, I have to create that kind of space. So
Sure.
I did.
Good point.
Anyway, that's a good book for time management. I think the way she does time management is a little whacked out, personally. But she does talk about procrastination, and she talks about the mind killer.
Fear?
She talks about fear and how fear often prevents us from doing the things in life that we need to and want to do. So I like those parts of the book. I think some of that stuff was pretty good.
Yeah, I need to read that.
And, you know, how negativity can get to us and how we need not to be so negative and we need to not be so hypersensitive and we need to really, you know, basically get a grip. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? Just get a fucking grip. What I didn't like about the book the most, though, is the final part of the book, which basically talks about how activism is like marketing and how she uses all these lessons from these various marketing books, business marketing books, to talk about the way in which we need to market our message and to appeal to people and to make people feel like we're giving them something they need or that they want or, you know, addressing needs in their lives. And that, you know, we need to do all these, learn our customers' language, right? She actually says that in here. We need to learn our customers' language. I have two reactions to that. I mean, one reaction I have to that is that when we've looked at our customers' language, I think this is how PETA has ended up with such sexist, fucked up ads, is that they looked at what's going on in marketing and they use those same techniques to market anti-fur campaigns. They use the same techniques to market these campaigns that a lot of us have real problems with, you know? So I don't,
yeah, that works if you're trying to make money at activism. But I know, to me, a potential vegan is not a customer. It's someone, you know, I don't like using that term.
Well, the way that she would pitch that, the way that she would respond to that, if we could ever have her on the show, she ignored my email. If we could have her on the show, you could ask her. But I think what she would say to you is that they're not going to buy anything from you necessarily, but just because they're not buying anything doesn't mean you're not selling them on a particular idea. And selling them on an idea is just like selling them on a product.
No, it's not. Well, okay, because I don't want to sell them on the idea, because if you sell someone on the idea, they're just going to think it's going to sound good for a little while, and then they're going to get bored with it, and then they're going to go become an ex-vegan.
What can we do to get you into veganism today?
I mean, yeah, okay, to sell I guess we do a little bit about that on our radio show, and we do try to sell people on the idea of veganism, but at the same time, I want you to reflect on it and think about it really deeply, because in that way, it becomes part of who you are, not just something you do.
I agree.
I think what would be more meaningful is to talk about, okay, how do we get people to change their views deeply enough?
Sure.
You know, so it becomes who they are, not just what they do.
Veganism, so what you're basically saying is that veganism isn't just like a pair of shoes you buy as part of your identity package.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, ooh, this is going to fill a void in my life, right?
Right. Ooh, I can look and hang out with the cool kids because they're vegan too, and maybe I'll look different.
Yeah, no, that a lot of people do get into veganism for that reason alone too. Yeah, I think there are a lot of ways in which activism is not like marketing. I mean, I think we have to market our messages in some ways, and you and I, you know, we have like, I hate to say it, but without consciously really developing it, but we kind of have a brand.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You know, like we haven't, and I want to assure people out there, we have not consciously tried to develop a brand, but it kind of happened.
Yeah.
We have like the Vegan Freak Radio, the Vegan Freak book, Vegan Freak T-shirts, and I'm really not trying to develop a brand here, honestly, but you know, I think in some ways that kind of evolves, right?
Yeah,
so in some ways she's right that there needs to be a marketing aspect to it, but I think that to limit it to that, and I think she does in a lot of ways limit to that, is really problematic. So that's what I don't like about the book, is I don't like the way it deals with marketing. I don't like, and I think that to deal with marketing is naive, because I think ultimately it ignores the ways in which our culture is structured in hegemonic kind of ideologies.
I was going to say, because something like veganism goes so much against the dominant ideology that you have to be willing to, I don't know, I mean, you just really have to be willing to go put yourself out there and be different from other people.
Yep.
You know,
You
and
do.
be the freak and be proud of being a freak. And not everybody's willing to do that. And it's really hard to sell someone on, going totally against the grain. Whereas normally people are selling things like, oh, come become like us. You'll be part of like, the dominant, buy this soap and, like,
But
I don't know.
But we sell belonging from the vegan side too.
Yeah,
Like you can be a vegan if you give up X, Y, and Z, and you become part of that community. Then
that's true.
see,
That's true.
so it's
Okay.
it's a little more.
I mean, there is. Yeah. Okay. There are elements. I agree. There are elements to it. And I've been reading this book called Mindless Eating,
Uh-huh.
and he often talks about what pulls people into eating, what they do, and he does some things with marketing, and so he was looking at the marketing of soy, and I should probably something I should bring up on the regular show.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But anyway, I'll mention it here too, and how men don't want to buy soy products because they see it as wussy, feminine, and it's not meat, so it's not manly.
But it is girly. Soy's
So
girly.
one of
Tofu's
the-
for girls.
His recommendations was that, okay, for the soy manufacturers, you either then just market it to women, especially women in their 20s, or you somehow make it more manly and have like more manly pictures of the veggie burgers and stuff like that. So,
Manly burgers. Why don't you try our new meatless manly burger?
so I mean, okay, there is an aspect to it. Yeah, sure, of course,
Yeah.
of marketing to vegan activism, but there is a lot more.
I think there's a lot more
Mm-hmm.
to it too, and I think by only framing it through a marketing lens, she loses a lot
Yeah.
in the book. And let's be also realistic here. She's a life coach as well, which is something that I just think is, I don't know. I mean, I guess it can be useful for certain people, but
Sure.
I think she's trying to sell her life coaching more than anything in this book.
Probably.
Well, not more than anything. No, she doesn't really sell it too hard,
Yeah.
but she does sell it on occasion in the book.
Yeah.
Not necessarily her life marketing, but I don't know, life coaching, but it's there. So I think the book has problems in some ways, but if you're looking for a book that can help you with time management and can help you with dealing with questions about, your kind of psychological approaches to activism in your life, I think the book is valuable. The first 2/3 of the book are pretty good in that way. The last third of the book, I could have done without. Marketing is activism type shit. And also the kind of argument she makes leads to a least common denominator argument. I mean, if you look at advertising, right, you can't advertise anything you want. Advertising tends to appeal to a certain kind of segment of the market. And I think that if we only look at it in that way, we tend to lose. Like you say, veganism's pretty out there for most people. How are we going to advertise something that's out there,
Good question.
So I think that advertising tends to often play down to the least common denominator in a lot of situations, and we don't need to do that, I don't think, as vegans. There's enough of mainstream movement doing that already.
True.
And I think, fucking it up pretty badly in some ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, whatever.
So, is that about it?
I think that's about it. I'm tired of talking, and you haven't talked much at all.
Well, that's because these were your ideas for the show.
Well, didn't you have any ideas?
Well, I had an idea, but you poo-pooed it.
What did I poo-poo?
Well, we had requests for people to talk more about things like Mole and Emmy.
Well, go ahead. I don't know what to say about them.
Well, now it's kind of like silly just to tack it onto the end.
No, it's not silly. People love when we talk about the dogs and cat.
And our cat, Michi.
What do you want to say?
Michiku. Well, it's funny because Mole's a lab.
He's insane.
Anybody who has labs knows that labs are insane.
He's nuts.
So, Molly's all about the mouth.
He is mouthy.
I mean, he's always got to I don't know. He's just he needs to put things into his mouth to experience life or something. And he will put your hand in his mouth. He'll when Xanthropy was over at our house.
He ate Ida. I don't know. He was really trying
to eat Ida.
But he was biting hard. It
He was
wasn't cool.
I know. He kept putting her arm in his mouth, and he's all about the mouth. We'll sit there at the table, and this is probably our fault, but
This is definitely our fault.
okay. He'll sit there, and he'll it'll be like a lizard, and he'll sit there with his head near our food, and just stick his tongue out at the food. He won't wholeheartedly try to get it, but he'll just sit there and move that,
And we have to
stick his tongue out.
we have
at
to
the
push
food.
him away.
Yeah,
He doesn't do that to me as often as to you.
that's true.
If I sit there and eat breakfast in the morning, though, he sits next to my chair and just goes, "Hurr, hurr, hurr." He just cries because in the morning I usually slice up banana for my cereal, and I usually give him like a little chunk of the banana when I slice it up. And so I sit there eating the banana on my cereal, and he smells it, and he says, it cries. And I save a piece of banana for him. See, we spoil the dogs. That's
We do.
the problem.
We totally spoil the dogs.
We totally spoil
I
them, and
know.
that's why
They're
Mole
so
is really
bad.
bad. So, I don't know.
But he's funny. Dogs are funny. Dogs are gross too. I was
They
thinking
really
about that
are.
today. It's like, okay, like, I mean, when you're a dog owner, dogs become less gross to you. Like, I can handle the slobber and the hair everywhere.
Yep.
Like, you get used to it. And I guess that's kind of
And
like
even the
if you,
farts when they're getting off the couch.
yeah, if you have kids, I guess that's. I mean, because like I find kids kind of gross sometimes. But if you're a mother, I can see how you totally not find your kid gross. Of course,
Sure, of course not.
of course not. So, but then again, kids can't lick their own ass and then lick you.
Some kids maybe
I mean,
can.
I don't. Be pretty acrobatic kid.
If you have a child, no, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, dogs are gross, but
But they're sweet.
they've got such personalities.
They really do.
And Michi too, of course, our cat.
And Michi Cat.
Michi's kind of grumpy.
He's grumpy.
He doesn't
Well,
like the dogs.
the dogs piss him off.
They do. Yeah, he's every right to be mad at the dogs.
They do. They stalk him on occasion and bark at him
Yeah.
and corner him. But, he's tough. He can handle it.
He can.
So, the dogs are cool. We go running with them, and Emmy just gets into this, she just gets into this mode. She just gets focused. She just runs straight. She just goes. And Molly, on the other hand, man, he's out to sniff every single pebble, rock, bush, anything, anywhere, and it's hard to run with him.
Yeah, because he'll be running along, and all of a sudden he'll stop,
Yeah.
and you either run into him or you get jolted because he'll just stop and
'Cause
sniff
of-
something.
yeah.
It's like, ooh, big rock, gotta sniff it.
He sniffs all kinds of things.
He's so hyper.
He loves to sniff junk, too, man. Anybody's junk, boom, right in there. Well, I guess that's general for dogs.
He's right at junk level though.
He is a junk level, which makes it really bad.
We used to bring Mole and Emmy to campus a lot.
Oh, boy.
We don't do that so much anymore because we just didn't get anything done. But I had this one coworker, every time she'd stop to pet Mole, he'd sniff her crotch, and it's so embarrassing. It's her in particular. I don't know why.
I guess he liked it.
Guess so. It's really embarrassing. I don't know.
Must have smelled good. Or really bad, because dogs are into that.
They are.
Oh, shit.
It's just disgusting.
Well, anyway. We should call it close, because, when people start talking about their kids and stuff, it's weird. And then people talk about their dogs and cats, it's weird. I don't want to be one of those people that annoys the shit out of everybody with tales of woe about their children, be they fur children or human children.
So you poo-poo the idea.
I poo-poo the idea?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be cheesy and boring.
They're cute.
They're cute to us, but everybody else in the world's probably yeah, whatever.
Look, Emmy's sleeping right behind me. She's cute.
She is cute. There's no question. But
Okay, I'll stop now.
no, it's okay. You can keep going.
No, I'm done.
It's okay.
Really?
It's all right. Anyway, all right. We should call it a close.
Okay.
Here, what?
Here, what?
Go ahead. Go.
I was just going to talk about t-shirts.
Oh, go ahead.
You should have all checked your email, and if you go vote for t-shirts, we will hopefully then have a better idea of how many people still want them.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And we can order a better number this time, and so we don't run out.
Yep. veganfreaks.net/donators/vote.php.
Okay?
Go there. We sent you all an email. So
Yes. So.
unless you've unsubscribed.
And we
from-
got some new designs, so if you already bought a t-shirt and you want another one,
Yeah.
go vote for that too, so we can
Same
order
price
more.
and all that, and we'll always hook up the freaky subscribers before anybody else.
Indeed.
So, definitely. I think that's all I have.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm running out of breath here,
Okay.
and I have so much grading to do.
Me too.
It's sick.
Okay.
It's sick and wrong.
We're done.
Here's a song, though, from Ryan.
Ah,
Ryan over at Vegblog Ryan, who's a busy father these days. But
he is.
here's a song from Ryan that I should play. And I got to tell you, now, when I have to listen to a song and go, I think that's maybe too dirty to play on our show, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So we'll close it with this 4.5 minutes. If you don't like it, just end the show now. But otherwise, listen in. This is Mr. Len. What the fuck?
Perhaps one of the most interesting words in the English language today is the word fuck. Out of all of the English words that begin with the letter F, fuck is the only word that is referred to as the F word. It's the one magical word just by its sound, can describe pain, pleasure, hate, and
What
love.
the fuck? Me and Lenny gon' bump, making you plenty every hour, steady making you say, what the fuck? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that Brooklyn shit with New Jersey, worry not, we keep making you say, what the fuck? Now everybody say, what the fuck? It's the 4 to 5, you die with Lynn on the cut. Duh, watch out, the live one bust. With lyrical hot shit, straight to your gut, nigga, what? Fucking with live, that be your no-no. Turn the most stuck out cat to straight homo. Oh no, make you extinct just like Dodo. Me and Lynn running through trees like Sonny Bono. Nigga, what? Coming up in your crib, fuck up your residence. Laying back, getting up head just like the president. From your girl, compared to you, my dick's benevolent. Heaven sent, like Bill and Ted, that shit was excellent. Nigga, what? We make it hot like Muhammad. Want test you with your crew. You catch it like Masada, I'm a holler from Medina. Straight from Fort Green, a nigga testing it. Stuck like Louis, yo, live, what the fuck? Me and Lenny gon' bump and give you plenty every hour, steady making you say, what the fuck? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that Brooklyn shit with New Jersey, worry not, we keep making you say, what the fuck? Now everybody say, what the fuck? You ain't no friend of me, you whack and played out like Bill Bellamy. Corny motherfucker, back off, cause you's an enemy. And you falling out of the sky just like a Kennedy. What the fuck? Never gave up. It's Mr. Live before the 5 with the nasty flavor. The one to be across the hall humping on your neighbor. Savor the sound of Mr. Lynn busting at the mayor. Got the police saying, what the fuck? That nigga Lenny shot Giuliani. I was on the corner waiting in the purple Maserati. Nigga, what? Get in the way, we lay back and count the paper later on. I'ma put me a slug and how it's safe. Nigga, what? Shed no tears, got some head from Whitney Spears. Nigga, what? Drank some brew and hung out with Patrick Ewing. Nigga, what? Found out what's in the middle of Monet. Got the white Bronco and broke out with OJ. What the fuck? Me and Lenny gon' bump and give you plenty every hour, steady making you say, what the fuck? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that Brooklyn shit with New Jersey, worry not, we keep making you say, what the fuck? Now everybody say, what the fuck is that? Flipping it from the back of girl streets when I'm hitting that, ripping that. Guard the butt cheeks cause I'm splitting that. Perverted, you heard it, caught nostril when I squirted. Shorty what? The sex free from Fort Greene. Shorty what? My pelvic thrust be correcting your spleen. Shorty what? Just ask your friend cause I've been with her. Smitty got the cock swinging like Dirk Diggler. Boogie night, hold up Mr. Love cause I hit it right. Your man sore, fuck 100 times and can't get it right. Fatima, the name Justice, a big sodomite. Hold it right, gun cock back like I was Dolomite. What the fuck, bitch boy suburbia say was lie a lot and sniff coke like you was George Bush. Nigga what? Duck, gun blast right through your gut. What? Then cuts making you say what the fuck?
Aggression. Don't fuck with me, buddy. Difficulty. I don't understand this fucking question. Inquiry. Who the fuck was that? Dissatisfaction. I don't like what the fuck is going on here. Incompetence. He's a fuck off. Dismissal. Why don't you go outside and play hide and go fuck yourself? I'm sure you can think of many more examples. With all of these multi-purpose applications, how can anyone be offended when you use the word? We say, use this unique, flexible word more often in your daily speech. It will identify the quality of your character immediately. Say it loudly and proudly. Fuck you.